Just 1 second. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm trying to, by the way, your screen should be blocked. I hope it's not blocked. Okay. I hope you can all see my screen now. Okay, so this homework assignment, I want to give you a bit of conceptual about what the homework is. It's not just asking you to finish an implementation, but there's a few things I really like you to learn at this point, which capture the conceptual thing in homework assignment conceptual thing in the lecture. So we have been covered this concept in starting lecture number 3 about what is object-oriented programming, which is including a process called object-oriented modeling. So in this picture, what we want to see is a complex system that we eventually would like to build. In fact, I might not have time to talk in any greater detail about the final project, but I'll probably mention some of the high-level concept, but next week we'll get into that because I hope to create some, I would say, a challenging and yet is a fun experience for you to be able to work together as a team to do your final project. So your final project is going to build some kind of realistic complex system that's going to solving or reflecting what's going on in the real world. And therefore, in order for you to really solve that problem, you need to define object, or sometimes in C++, we use the concept called class to define. For example, in homework assignment number 2, we're asking you to look at least 2 different classes. One is called transaction, one is called person. So a person, of course, model you and me. And the transaction try to model the interaction about these people. So with the concept of transaction and person, you can actually see that there's a lot of activity we would like to model. We can use these 2 different classes. So I'm actually simplify a lot in this homework assignment number 2, and gradually you see that this could be more and more complicated. But essentially what we see on this slide is that that we try to start to model some part of the object from the really complicated world initially. So we're going to do a strategy called divide and conquer. We're not going to model or solve the whole problem at one shot. And we're going to go through this process. Sometimes we call this process called rapid prototyping. Means that you try to get something done in a quick and dirty way. I'm sorry to use the word quick and dirty, but essentially that is what we want to do. Is not perfect, but it actually get you into something running that you know what's going on. And then you see how you can get feedback to see how you can improve. That's actually in program development. That's a really nice paradigm for fast prototyping, that you can quickly get something done. So we define this 2 class, which I will show you what we call reference implementation. And this code, for example, this have something called person.h and person.cpp, which is represent the declaration about the class, which is basically say what attribute and what member function I should have for this class called person. So this is a C++ representation about the concept we would like to model. And the other program is called person.cpp, which represent the detailed implementation about those member functions. Okay, some of the, linguistically, you don't have to separate these 2. You can actually put everything into, say, the person.h. You don't need person.cpp. In fact, I will highly recommend you not to do that for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons is called encapsulation. This encapsulation means that when you want to provide your software to let other people use it, you just need to provide the interface, and you don't need to provide the implementation. I mean, if you think about that, when Microsoft released their library, they don't have to give you all the source code. They just give you a .h file, and they give you something called library that you can use this interface to check whether you use the library appropriately without giving you the source code. And that is very important in software practice, especially when you write a large program. This program is not owned by a single person. It's actually owned by a bunch of people. And therefore, it's important for you to separate the interface part of the class versus the implementation part of the class. Okay, that's why you see that we always have a .h file and .cpp file. It's not just for simple as say we want to put in two files. There is a principle that we would like to enforce behind that. Okay, and then we have this concept in this program. This is probably the first time not only you write object-oriented program that you actually have more than one class, and you have a class called person, you have a class called transaction, and therefore what we want to tell you the concept called separate compilation. So separate compilation is that you compile person.cpp into person.o, you compile transaction.cpp into transaction.o, and then you have something called linker. You kind of link these things together. Let me actually just show you the makefile. Well, that's why I want kind of force you to use makefile, because wait a minute, where is my, okay. Because the makefile really force you to see what is a separate compilation. Actually bring the window here. No, this is not the window I was talking about. Yeah, here is a good one. Hold on 1 second. So if we take a look at the makefile, so this is a makefile, and you can see that this is similar to what you got for homework assignment number 1. And the thing is, of course, there is a command line for capital CC and capital C flags represent the compiler option. But here is a bunch of rules down here. You can see that I actually has a rule to compile person.o. So this is what we call in compiler, this is called the target of the rule. This is the whole thing is called a rule, but this part is called target. This part is called dependency. And this part is called action, is the command. So essentially what you want to do is that if you want to produce this target, you will need those dependency file. And once you have those dependency file, that you're going to use this command line to help you to produce the target. So essentially this rule is just defining how you're going to produce this target called person.o. So I compile person.o using this rule. And also I compile the other rule, which is the target is transaction.o. So you compile another program into what we call the object file. These two object file, person.o, transaction.o alone, they're not executable. They're just a module of executable code that you need to link together with others. So in some sense, transaction.o and person.o is like a library. A library is basically a collection, a folder that put a lot of object code together that you are linking to that. Okay, so that's the concept about the object code and separate compilation. Of course, you need the things to put them together. By the way, there's another program called driver. The driver is ecs36b homework 2 part 2.cpp. It's a main function, basically hook these things together. So there is another .o file here. And finally, this is the linker line. This line, this rule is a linker line. Take a look at this. The target is the ecs36b HW2 testing. That's the module. That's the executable we try to produce. Dependency. In order to make this executable, what kind of things we will need? We need 3 object files. Person.o, which is being produced by rule number 1. Transaction.o, which is produced by rule number 2, and ecs36b HW2 part 2.o, which is produced as a target for rule number 3. So once you have this 3 object file, then you use this line. This is the way you can produce the executable using the dependency. So you're basically say this, in this case will be G++, because you see that $ quote, $ parenthesis capital CC, the CC, this part is going to be replaced by the G++ minus STD equal to C++17 in this case. And so you're using G++ with the right version, and then minus O option saying that, well, what should be the executable? If you don't have minus O with this, the default output will be A.out. All right. So I always say, if I could, I will try to give a different name because I usually want to produce different kind of executable. And then you can see that I put this 3.0 here. Okay. So you can see that now I'm putting the .o file into that, and if successful, I'm going to have implementation there. Okay, so that's Makefile, and just want to tell you that it really represents just the concept we're talking about here. Okay, all right, I'm going to stop for just 5 seconds to see if anybody have any question about what I just said.
Professor?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so like for the homework 2 part 2, we will be working on %.h and %.cpp. But the one on the bottom, the main.o, so that will be a kind of executable file that will be made by the Makefile. Is that what you're trying to say? Okay,
yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
So the main function, I already provide you the one of the file we call a driver or main function is already there. You don't really have to develop your own, but you can feel free to modify to adding some debugging statement or something like that. That should be fine. Okay. All right. So this picture is important. It gives you an overall concept about object-oriented modeling, programming, and the separate compilation. And then you can start asking. Once you execute the program, you're essentially provide what we call a digital twin to the real world. And then in that, you're managing the digital twin. In that process, you're actually interacting with the real world. Okay, it's just like your Facebook account or your Twitter account is your digital twin, and you're actually managing, interact through those accounts. Okay, it's a similar concept here. All right, so I'm going to continue. And one of the things I asked you to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I want you to do this reference interpretation. But let me highlight a few things that you want to work on. The thing is that you need to work on is one part, which is operator overloading, which I cover in lecture 3 and lecture 4. By the way, I gave some simple example in lecture 3 and lecture 4 about overloading, which represents some of the concept that how C++ provide that. I want to emphasize that operator overloading is not always always you need to use that, because sometimes operator overloading will cause confusion, especially you're working on a team project, which means that you're going to write some code and have other people use it or understand and modify or debug. And sometimes operator overloading could be confusing. Okay, and similarly, if you think about the teamwork, so the reason I give you a reference implementation is because this is like somebody else give you a piece of crappy code, and you have to actually understand. You see that, oh, you're missing here, you're missing there, and that's why I want you to start to have the capability to read other people's code. I mean, in fact, I would say reading code is much harder than writing code yourself. Okay, but on the other hand, in practice, almost all of us are actually when we develop software, getting larger and larger, is usually you're not going to build everything from scratch. At least if you want to do fast prototyping, you know, get something done, reuse code as much as possible. That's always the case with software development. All right, so let's actually start to look at this. I'm going to show you a quick demo about how things will happen when you get to that. I don't want to use this one. I will use this window. Open another window. Okay, I already actually have something on Cyrus. So I'm going to directly use Cyrus to help me to do that.
Professor, I just had a quick question about the makefile example you were showing.
Mm-hmm.
So you showed those like the .o files and the CPP files and everything. Like
Mm-hmm.
the .o files are the target, and then you need the other two files for that. So
Right.
when you run make, you need to have those like those source files in the folder you are at right now to produce those target files.
That's correct. That's correct. You have to have everything in the same directory when you run the make command.
Okay.
Because the make file is going to grab it from that current directory. So if some of the resources, when I say resources means file, is not in the same directory, so you need to specify that. I mean, for example, just for example, very quickly, if my .h file is not in the same directory, I might say /include /person.h. Or my person.cpp is not in the same directory, I would say /src person.cpp, because a lot of projects we actually define, we put file in different directory. So I might put include file in one directory, the CPP file in another directory. So you just need to specify that to let your make. I mean, you run it and then you will see what happened. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let me see. I thought I have a directory called demo. Yeah, that's good. Let me actually remove it. rm-rf, ecs36b. I'm going to remove everything. I'm going to start it from the scratch. So I'm going to just.
Professor,
Yes.
can I ask you a question? Okay, so yeah, so like yesterday I tried to log into the Cyrus, but I don't know why I couldn't. Like I tried almost 7-8 times and enter the right password, even though I couldn't like get into the Cyrus.
Okay.
And my
No.
VPN.
I understand. Cyrus, I just want to let you know, Cyrus is not CSIF, so your account won't work. So Cyrus is actually not a public server for students to use in general. It's actually my own server. So I actually manage two servers. One is Cyrus, one is Theris. So the reason is I own my own server, so it's much easier for me to control and deploy. And my graduate student, of course, or undergraduate student work on my research project, they will have an account. But in general, I run program to support the operation, but it's not, because it has a lot of critical resource. I don't want student to go in there. For example, the student master file is somewhere hidden there. I don't want any student to go there to check the grade file or something like that. Okay, so that's right. It's not accessible. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, but where do we go to submit the small programs then? Because I was trying to do that one in fact yesterday.
Oh,
for the small
yeah,
program
yeah.
submission.
You actually go to Cyrus, small program. That should be fine. It can accept small program. It should be able to work. If you have a question about small program, we can revisit a bit later. Okay.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So let me see. 420. Wait a minute. What's the name? 20 homework 2. Okay, so I'm actually getting this file. Okay, and I'm going to tar this. So this file is called this directory you will get is ecs36b homework 2 part 2 unfinished, right? So let's go in there. All right, so it has, you know, transaction.cpp, transaction.h, person.cpp, person.h has that. It has a make file. So the first thing you can do is just type make. Okay, so just neglect the warning message because the program is not complete. Therefore, it has a warning. But once you add up the program, all this warning will supposed to go away. Okay, but it can, even though with all this warning means I have a missing part, the nice thing is that it still compile. The last rule still work because I can still generate that old file even though it's not complete, by the way. It's interesting in computer science that we can do that. So you can see that it's actually generate, after I do the make file, you see it generate the old file, and it generate this program called ecs36b homework 2 testing. So I'm going to run this program. Run this program is actually asking me 3 parameters. So I'm going to run the 169.237.6.102. By the way, I'm going to update. I haven't uploaded, but I already updated. The port number for part 2 is 95603. Okay, and I'm just going to randomly add a virtual ID. Okay, so I'm going to run this. All right. What do we get from this? What did we just get? Anybody can see the screen in the bottom?
Wait, Professor, how did you get the ECS36b homework testing program? How did you get to there?
Okay, so you come to, this is homework 2, right? I'm going to upload this. This is the link.
Yeah, and then after downloading this, yeah, okay, I have all the programs, but I don't have ECS.
So I actually changed the name. I'm sorry about that. And let's go. Let me show you. You might have to re-download it. It's the same file. I just changed the name.
Oh, because I have the unfinished one.
Yeah, you see that here is the link is here. ECS36b F2 is under this directory. Okay, I kind of move around file a little bit and change the name so not confused with part 1. Okay. All right, so here is something which is the first thing you should worry about. Have you seen this one? This is called segmentation fault. I mean, have you got segmentation fault in ECS36A? Anybody?
I got it once when I was doing the homework 1 part 2, and I was like editing stuff, and I got segmentation.
So you're not getting this from ECS36A? Oh, I'm impressed. No, I'm actually kind of surprised because you're supposed to start seeing segmentation fault for core dump for as a C programmer, because you have to deal with pointer. I mean, this is a good friend with C pointer. When you have a C pointer, if you dereference, one of the things I should explain later. What do I mean by dereference a null pointer? You're going to get a segmentation fault. Okay, so don't worry if you don't have it. You will get a lot this quarter. I mentioned that this is a good experience. Okay, so this is what we call a runtime error. So let me actually go back to explain to you what's the difference here. So the difference is that if I can successfully link everything together, means that the compiler error or linking error all gone. But it doesn't say my program is okay. In fact, there are 3 kinds of error I should mention. There's one kind of error called syntax error, which is basically the compiler take care of that. And then there is a second kind of error, which is like a segmentation fault or divided by 0. It's called runtime error. It triggers what we call a software trap, or sorry, not software trap. Software, yeah, is that the software trap or? No, it's actually hardware trap, sorry. Runtime error is a hardware trap. It basically generates a signal saying that you violate the runtime support, and such a segmentation fault, such as divided by 0. That's called the runtime error. So as a programmer, you should know what is a syntax error, what is a runtime error, and which homework 2 will give you the third one. Another important one is called logical error. Okay, so we're going to see this, but how do we actually deal with this? I mean, so I'm working on homework assignment number 2, part 2. Now I haven't started, but I already got a segmentation error, segmentation fault. How should we do that? Any idea from the class? How should we actually proceed at this point?
Using debugger?
Yes, using debugger. So the reason to use debugger, we want to know which part of the code, which is potentially in this case is written by somebody else, is written by Felix, and it's causing segmentation fault. And so we want to check where that is. So now I'm going to show you a demo about GDB. So what you do is you do GDB as a command, and then you put the executable. The executable is going to be ecs36b, homework 2 testing, and now I'm having my GDB process. And then I'm going to run my program. So I run my program, say, exactly the same parameter, 169.237.6.102, and the port number is 95603, and then BSID, I just enter anything. Okay, so now you see that, okay, this is, I just want to highlight. The line I just typed is here. You see that I actually typed this line, and it start to execute the program, and it basically say, hey, he got the, I'm sorry, messed up. That's okay. Okay, it basically give me an error saying that I have a segmentation fault. So in GDB is important. Can I do where? Okay, good. There is a command called where. When you have a segmentation fault, you want to know where it is. So basically, I try to say where it is, and let's see the button. So you see that here is show you the calling sequence. The one is the main function, and the main function is going to call, you see that transaction, colon, description. So that is a function that's actually say where it is. It actually gives you the information, GDB, saying it's in transaction.cpp line 42. So basically that was the place which is triggering the segmentation fault. All right, so great, that's the good news. So now let's go to, yes, I want to quit. Transaction.cpp, and let's go to line 42. Okay, here we're in line 42. You see that now line 42 is essentially is a string processing in C++. I'm actually adding this string to another string. But here I just want to tell you that I'm actually let's actually look at the transaction.h at the same time. So here's a transaction.h, is a declaration that it has a variable called tr sender. It has a tr sender as a variable that's match this tr sender here. And tr sender is a person. It's a person object. And it has an object called getName. Okay, so based on my experience, I want to tell you that the getName function has not been implemented correctly. And therefore, it actually returned a null when I try to add this two strings together when one of them is a null. And that's why this line is causing the segmentation fault. Because it's, so let's go to person.cpp to fix this. Person.cpp, sorry, not like this. Control X, Control S, Control X, fine. Person.cpp. Okay, the function is called getName. You see that? I'm actually having this getName function, and then you can see that I said what? I said to be implemented by students, so I didn't implement. So that's why this function is empty. So that's why when we call this function, it didn't return anything. It returned a null, the best. And the null, when you want to add the string together, you're going to get a segmentation fault. Okay? So that's why I'm saying that you're going to look at this and say, well, where do I get the name? I'm going to show you this part. I'm going to compare person.h. Okay, inside person H, now I'm looking at person H and person.cpp. One is the interface or attribute definition. One is the implementation. The top is the definition. So let's look at under class person. Sorry. Okay, have you probably noticed that in this file I actually put multiple class, but that's just the convention we're doing here. You see that under person there is a variable, is a private variable. Remember we talk about the difference between private, public variable. This is a private variable. It's called name. So what I can just do here inside here to implement the game name, I just say return this to the name, because this is the person to that variable name. By the way, there is a different convention. I can just say name as a variable, because in the scope of this person member function, the name should be referred to this name. But this is my habit, my convention. I always say if this is a member variable, I always use this to actually show, to enhance the readability about the code, saying that this is actually a member in the class person. Okay, so you can see that now I change this. Without, let me actually just, in case I save this. So I just add one line. I just say get name, and then I implement the get name. You just get it from the variable name. And then what I do is I modify, so I do a make. Okay, I still get lots of warning, but that's okay. But now I'm actually getting this program. Let's try to run this program again. Let's try to run this program again. Now the segmentation fault is gone. See that? There's no segmentation fault anymore. So it means that I passed that stage. I actually get this program running to finish without any runtime error. Okay, so without any runtime error. Well, however, I have what I call a logical error. That's the third one of the error. Means that even though your program can build compiler, linker, no problem, even though your program does not causing any segmentation fault or any kind of runtime error, it doesn't mean your program is correct. And this program at this stage is logically still incorrect. So look at why is this? It's because it's calculating the distance is all 0. And therefore, when it calculates all 0, of course, what you got, you submit to the server, and the server basically check the result. And basically, server tell you, sorry, your result is incorrect. So now you have to fix that. All right, so just now we go back to our slide to tell you what we really are trying to do. So this is essentially what we're trying to do here, is that we have a homework 2 server, and this is your program which we start to build. And it's based on other people's code. That's the reference implementation. And the thing is that you're exercising both the readability, also try to find out whether there is anything missing that's going to cause either logical error or runtime error. And eventually your program need to do the right thing, and such that you will get the correct result from the homework 2 server. Okay, by the way, I do want to mention there is a few things I have been helping students. There is a few things. Here is where we are right now. And I think, you should really start using some of this tool. It's very useful. For example, SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol, Secure Shell. There is one program which you might be able to use it if you want to use some of the terminal directly to do web access. It's called CURL. Is a command line URL program to get a browser. It's essentially internet browser. Diff is very useful. DF is looking at your file system. It's very useful, especially you're using Windows together with Ubuntu. You want to see where things are across the file system boundary. DF is useful. Of course, you should be using CDLS. You have been using tar, gzip, and min is important. And another function which is quite useful is a find. You will be able to find the right resources. And the other thing which is important is for you to know is, of course, make and makefile is, we emphasize that a lot. For this homework assignment, not only you need to worry about overloading, but you should also learn from the lecture and try to exercise those concepts you learn into the understand constructor and destructor, this kind of concept. And of course, you learn the 3 types of error: syntax, runtime, and logical error. Okay, so here is a few pieces of code that we should be, let me actually, that's actually related to the logical error. Okay, let me actually do something before I get into this piece of code. Let me actually just open another window. We go to 36b, homework 2. I think it's part 2. Just make it. Okay, so I'm actually going to run the correct one. This is the version which is already implemented. So /bin/ what was it, executable? No, not .bin, .ecs testing, and 169.237.6.102, port number 95603, and 1234. Okay, so this is the program that's supposed to execute, looks like this. So you can see that it's actually producing, calling constructor destructor, because now I'm actually implement the correct constructor destructor, and also it calculate the correct distance. If you remember, this is what we got. The distance is always 0. It's not calling constructor destructor. And over here, you see that it's calling the constructor destructor is also calling the right function and actually calculate the right distance given the GPS location, and is submit to the server, and the server basically say it checked the result. By the way, it checked whether the result is reasonably close to it's not exactly match, will be okay, but it has to be somewhat close to the distance in miles we're talking about. And essentially it's calculating the distance between Davis to New York, from New York to Sydney, Australia, and from Sydney, Australia to Davis. So it's calculating this triangle distance. So basically just let you know, from Davis to California, from Davis to New York City, it's about 2,500 miles. And from New York City to Sydney, Australia is about 9,900 miles. And then from Sydney back to Davis is about 7,400 miles. Okay, so that is the number that's the program supposed to calculate. And once you get the right result, the program, it will say success, and on the server, on Cyrus, we log. And so we know that you're doing the right thing. You have done that successfully. Okay, so let's actually go back to see, well, what is the trick for you to get the result correctly? So let's actually go back to the slides. So you can see the first part is basically what we talk about, the place that causing the, this is not the place actually causing the segmentation fault. This is the place which we are actually calculating the distance. So you can see that this line, this is a code in the driver ecs36b HW2 part 2 CPP. Is actually calculating the distance for flight 1, get distance, flight 2, get distance, flight 3, get distance. So what it does is that it's called flight 1. Flight 1 is a transaction object. Okay, it's a transaction. We consider, remember, transaction represent the human's activity. So flight is a transaction. So basically flight 1, there was a function called get distance. And that get distance is defined in transaction.cpp. So transaction.cpp has a get distance, but that function is not being implemented. So what is the transaction? How does transaction actually calculate the get distance? It's actually going to, I'm going to show you this. Let me get back to this program, I'm finished. So I'm going to do transaction.h. So if you come here, transaction.h, which has multiple variable, and two of the variable is here, is two GPS location. One is the source GPS location. One is the destination GPS location. So essentially, in the transaction get distance, I'm going to leverage this two GPS DD objects to calculate this. So that's why this one will actually call the other two, which is this line here. Sorry, I'm going to show you the code. It's better. I'm not sure I actually quote the right code in the slide, but I want to do this. Here. It's under person.cpp. You can see that, oh, there's a misspelling. This one should be longitude. Okay, here you can see I have a function called get distance. I have a function called get distance, okay? And this get distance is something you need to implement because it's an object that's take one parameter. It's actually going to calculate on this and then get another one. So the object should be the source and another should be the destination. So I actually want to show you this part to just tell you that how this part should be implemented. Because I think I can give you this part and help you to do the rest. Okay. I just want to show you this part. So this part, this line, I didn't give you in the reference implementation, but now I'm actually giving you this line. So you get a concept about how to pass this stage, but I won't give you the code for you to do the calculate the distance. But you can see here is, this is a transaction get distance. I actually use this transaction source. That is the member. And I call the distance function. Remember, this to the TR-SRC where is an object from GPS DD, which is a GPS location. And I call the distance, and then the parameter I put in is this to the TR destination where. So this line is calculating the distance between the source and the destination where. Okay, so that is a line. You really just need one line, you put it there. But now let's get back to here. But now we look at this part of the code. And this part of the code is really just calculating this two function. But the thing is that, I mean, how do you actually calculate the GPS location based on the DD format? The thing is that you don't have to, remember I said, programming, try to reuse other people's code. I mean, of course, you can try to figure out everything yourself, but I would say just using this piece of code, you see that this piece of code is called geo data source distance, is take latitude, longitude, latitude 2, longitude 2, and a unit. And this code is actually available from here. You can actually just copy and paste. Let's actually go there to see what it is. So this is the link. And if you get here, this is the code. That's actually defined this function. Does this looks familiar? I already actually copied some part of the code, but this is the code that you really need to copy and paste, go in there to do the work. So this is the code that was the interface. You see that latitude 1, longitude 1, latitude 2, longitude 1, and unit. You figure out how your program is going to call this function, and then you can calculate the distance. That's the only trick that you need to do in order to get the correct distance, okay? I think I'm almost done with this part. Okay, so that is, I'm actually used that all my time. So I think this hopefully give you some idea about how to do homework 2, part 2. Any question? Is perfectly clear or is totally?
Professor,
Yes, please go ahead.
I have a question about homework 3 part 2.
Homework 2, part 2. I haven't released homework 3 yet.
But is it okay if I ask something?
Sure, of course.
Yeah. So my question is, do we have to develop the whole program from scratch, or do we need to, or we just modify the tar files, the content of the tar files?
Okay, my recommendation is you just modify and get it to work. And the main requirement for this is you want to make sure that your program will get the correct, sorry, let me kill this one. You will get the correct interaction with homework 2, part 2 server.
Okay.
You will get a success, right? You're going to submit your JSON. By the way, the driver is going to produce a JSON. If you use the reference implementation, that will save you a lot of time. Now you don't need to worry about things like how do you actually do the networking part? How do you actually put the JSON together? But you should. I will encourage you to take a look at those code as well.
All right. I was just asking because on the Word document, it says that we need to design our own client and server CPP programs when they are already written.
Which homework you were talking about?
It's ecs36b homework 3 part 2.
No, we're not talking about homework 3. We're talking about homework 2 right now.
Oh no, yeah. I asked you if I could ask something about homework 3.
But I haven't released homework 3. Homework 3 has not been released. The version you use is actually from last quarter. It will be changed.
Oh, okay,
it will be changed. It will be changed. So I'm sorry that I haven't released that yet.
Oh, okay, no problem.
All right.
Thank you,
We will talk about that. Yeah. Yes. I mean, in some sense, you still need to design your own client server from scratch or using some reference implementation. But that's true for homework 3. Yes.
Oh, okay. I see.
Okay, but I do want to tell you that homework 3 is not out yet.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Okay. All right.
Can I ask you something from the output?
Sure.
So you know how after the transaction and your program runs, it has like RC equals to 0. What does RC mean? Oh,
return code. Okay, that is just a debugging statement. I actually included in my test program. It's just a debugging message, but it's not required, but it's already in there. Yeah. It's I can show you what it is. All right. Let me actually show you what is the RC code means. RC is a convention we call the return code. So RC, you can see that RC is, I'm actually in this part before that, I'm actually construct the JSON, right? I construct the JSON, which has all the necessary element for me to send to the server. And then I call this function send ecs36b JSON. And then I provide all the argument. And it's actually give me back a return code. So then I just print the return code in the next line. Because what happened is that if you, of course, when you do testing, when you send it out, it has an error. Then the return code is not going to be a positive or 0 number. It's going to be something negative. then we will know that something is wrong with the interaction with the remote server. Okay, so we usually use RC as a return code for us to do the checking and debugging. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Professor,
Yes.
I have a question. So when I download the source file for homework 2 part 2 from the Word document, somebody in the Discord told me to change the F 2020 to S 2020. So does that mean I download the source code from the summer session?
No, it's not summer session. I mean, it's that part of the file is the same with spring 2020 and the fall, but you should download from the fall 2020 now. I already fixed the name. Fixed the name, so
yeah,
you should download from this link. Just
yeah,
go to the fall folder, and it's there right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor, do we gonna have office hour on next Monday?
I don't have office hour on Monday. I have office hour Tuesday, Thursday, but I set in the Canvas that I'm going to have an extra office hour starting next Monday, 20 minutes after the class, means 5 to 5:20. And that will be limited to a specific group of students. So I want to have a smaller group gathering. And so I will separate you into 6 different groups. You will receive an email from me regarding which group you're in. So next Monday, the office hour will be group 1. And Wednesday will be group 2, Friday will be group 3. But you can still attend my regular office hour on Tuesday, Thursday for question. But in fact, it's actually kind of good to have that, because what I realize right now, there's a very small number of students that attend the office hour, which is great for those students. But there is other student, they probably didn't know that it's great to be able to have more interaction, to give them chance to do that. So I would like to specifically allocate the 20 minutes every time to kind of encourage students to have a smaller group interaction. That's what we're going to do starting Monday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor?
Yes.
Can you give me some quick advice on how to edit the client program? Because whenever I run the command to receive my virtual ID, it's just loading. It's not giving any success or failure. And so I tried changing the arguments for the code instead of just taking the student ID number and taking all the other stuff from the JSON, but it still doesn't work. What do you recommend?
Is this homework? This is homework 2 part 1. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I would suggest to do 2 different things.
Okay.
Saif, number 1, you can take a screenshot about what you have, send it to me, email or Facebook Messenger. I can help you to debug. Okay. Number 2, you can actually come to our office hour on Tuesday or Thursday. Then we can do share screen or whatever to take a look.
I'll do that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I think our time is up. I need to go, and I'm going to record this, and hopefully you will get some better idea about homework 2 part 2. But if you have any further question, please feel free to ask me. I just want to let you know I'm actually very slowly catch up with the email, but I will get to that this weekend. Okay. All right.
Could I email you on help for homework 1?
Sure, of course.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah.
Professor, I think I still cannot open the web. Like when I open it, there's an error, and the website is not found.
Hold on. Can
Yeah,
you go
can
to this place? Can you go to this place? This link? Cyrus.cs?
Yeah. Okay.
Are you in this folder? F 2020?
No, actually, is this website that you provide all the
No,
source code?
go to the folder because I haven't updated the document. The link is ready. The file is there. Is that document I haven't uploaded? You need to go to the folder. Go to
Okay.
this folder, and then here you can click this one. Is here because I changed the name. I changed the name of the file.
Can you like stay for seconds? Let me type that.
Okay, sure. I will send to the chat as well, so people
Okay.
can. I will send to chat, send it to everybody, so you can see the link as well. This is the master folder for all the material.
Oh yeah, I got that.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, I wish you all have a good weekend.
Can I ask one last question?
Sure, go ahead.
So when will we know when our groups will be formed? Is it this weekend?
Yeah, this weekend. Yeah, I'm trying to send it by tonight or tomorrow.
Okay, do you know how many students is in one group? Because we
It's
have
going to be 25 to 30.
Okay, thank you so much.
25 to 30. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Have a good
You're
weekend.
welcome. You too.
Professor, can I ask a question about homework 1?
Go ahead, please.
To turn in the homework 1, basically we just turn in the part 2, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you.